Hello and welcome to English in Mind, the podcast, where your English and your confidence grow together, one small step at a time. Maybe you're walking right now or drinking your morning coffee. Maybe you're listening while cooking or just taking a few quiet minutes for yourself. However you found this moment, thank you for choosing it. You're doing something kind for your future self. You're not just learning English, you're learning how to keep going. Today, I want to talk about something that can completely change your life. It's not exciting, it's not fast, but it's powerful. It's called consistency. Consistency means doing something again and again, even when you're tired, even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't see results yet. It's not about being perfect, it's about being present. Let me give you an example. Have you ever seen a plant grow? You water it every day, but in the beginning, nothing changes. No flowers, no leaves, just soil. It feels like nothing is happening, but below the surface, deep in the dark, something is happening. Roots are growing, slowly, quietly. And then one day you see a tiny green sprout. That's the reward for showing up every day. Your English is the same. Every time you listen, read, speak, or write, you are watering your learning. Even if you don't feel it yet, your brain is growing roots. Why small steps are more powerful than motivation? When people think about success, they often imagine one big moment, a sudden change, a breakthrough. But in real life, most success is not like that. It's not loud. It's not fast. It's quiet. It's slow. It's made of small steps. Let me tell you something. Honest motivation doesn't last. It's like weather. One day it's sunny, the next day it rains. You can't build your dreams on something that changes every day. But consistency, that's different. Consistency is like brushing your teeth. You don't need to feel excited to do it, you just do it. Because it's part of your life. And the results come from doing it again and again. A lot of learners say, I will practice English when I feel motivated. But here's the truth. You don't need motivation. You need a rhythm. Imagine this. You want to learn 10 new English words each day. On the first day, you learn 10. Not bad. The next day, add 10 more. Still feels small, but keep going for 1 week. That's 70 words. In 1 month, it's 300. In 1 year, that's over 3,000 new words. Can you see how powerful that is? You didn't learn them all in 1 weekend. You learned them little by little. And that's exactly why it works. I once read about a man who wanted to run a marathon, but he had never even jogged before. His first day, he just walked around the block. That's it. The next day, he walked a little faster. Then he started jogging slowly. 5 minutes became 10. 10 became 30. 1 year later, he finished a full marathon. Not because he ran fast, but because he kept going. It's the same with English. Don't worry about being fast. Focus on being steady. Let's say you want to improve your listening. You don't need to spend 2 hours a day. Just 10 or 15 minutes every day will train your ears. Your brain starts to recognize sounds. Sentences become clearer. Confidence grows. Some days you might feel tired. Some days you might feel like skipping. And that's okay. But if you can still do a little, even when you're not in the mood, you're building a superpower. That's what consistency gives you, strength without pressure. Turning daily habits into a language routine. Now let's talk about how to turn consistency into something even more powerful, a routine. A routine is like a map for your day. It helps you know what to do, when to do it, and most importantly, how to keep going without overthinking. Let me ask you something simple. Do you brush your teeth at the same time every day? Probably yes. You don't need to remind yourself. You don't argue with your brain. You just do it. That's a routine. And you can build the same habit for English. Here's how I started my own English routine years ago. Every morning, I made coffee, and while waiting, I listened to a 5-minute English podcast. That was it. No pressure, no big goal, just 5 minutes. But soon, 5 minutes became 10. Then I started repeating words out loud. Later, I added short writing practice in the evening. And guess what? It never felt like study. It became part of my day, like brushing my teeth or making my bed. You can do the same. Try this. Choose one small time slot in your day. Morning coffee. Your walk to work just before sleep. Link your English practice to that moment. For example, every time I eat lunch, I'll listen to 5 minutes of English. After brushing my teeth, I'll say one sentence in English to myself in the mirror. Before bed, I'll write one sentence about how I feel. This is called habit stacking. You stack a new habit English onto something you already do. And guess what? Your brain loves this. It doesn't feel like hard work. It feels natural. Another tip. Keep it visible. Use sticky notes. Write simple English words and stick them on your mirror or refrigerator. I used to put notes like, I am strong or this is my time next to my bed. These words became part of my thinking. They weren't just language, they became belief. That's the beauty of consistency. It doesn't just teach you English, it teaches you self-respect. It tells your brain, hey, I'm someone who shows up. I'm someone who grows. Now imagine this, 6 months from now, you followed your little routine every day. Just 5 minutes a day. You didn't do anything crazy, but you never stopped. You would feel stronger. You'd speak more clearly. You'd understand more. But most of all, you would feel proud of yourself. Not just for your English, but for being someone who keeps their promise. That pride, that quiet power. You can't buy it. You build it, one small action at a time. What to do when you feel like giving up? Let's be honest. No matter how good your routine is, there will be days when you don't feel like doing anything. You'll wake up tired. You'll feel overwhelmed. Maybe something stressful happens at work. Or maybe you just feel like you're not improving fast enough. And in that moment, a quiet voice might whisper, maybe this isn't working. Maybe I should stop. I've heard that voice too. We all have. But here's the truth. That voice doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you're lazy. It simply means you're human. So what do we do when that voice comes? We get quiet. We take a breath. And we remind ourselves it's okay to feel this way. You're allowed to have bad days. You're allowed to feel tired. But what you're not going to do is give up. Let me tell you a short story. There was a girl named Sophia. She had a dream of studying abroad, but she felt embarrassed about her English. She tried to study every day, but after 2 weeks, she stopped. I'm not smart enough, she thought. Other people are better. One evening, she opened her notebook. It had only 3 English words, written on 1 page. She almost closed it again. But then something inside her whispered, why not just 1 word today? So she wrote 1 new word, just 1. The next day, she wrote another, then another. 1 month later, her notebook was full. 3 months later, she was speaking to a tutor online. A year later, she passed her language exam. She didn't succeed because she was perfect. She succeeded because she didn't stop. If you feel like quitting, here's what I want you to do. Do just one small thing. Don't aim for 30 minutes. Just aim for 2 minutes. 1 word, 1 sentence, 1 breath of English. That's enough. Remind yourself why you started. Was it to travel, to get a better job, to feel proud? Write that reason down. Read it when the days feel heavy. Celebrate your effort. You listened to a podcast while tired. That counts. You spoke 1 sentence to yourself. That's a win. Consistency is not about never falling. It's about always getting back up. Even if you stopped for a week or even a month, it's okay. You can come back. You're not starting from zero. You're starting from experience. And that matters. Your learning journey is not a straight line. It's a winding path. Some days are fast. Some are slow. Some feel like nothing is happening. But trust me, every small step is building something inside you. Building confidence through daily practice. Let's talk about confidence. Not the loud kind. Not the stand on a stage and give a speech kind. I mean the quiet, steady kind. The kind that grows inside you every time you do something a little screwy and realize you survived. Many people think confidence comes first, that you need to feel brave before you speak English or try something new. But that's not how it works. Confidence doesn't come before the action. It comes after. Think of it like this. The first time you spoke a sentence in English, maybe your heart beat a little faster. Maybe you were afraid to sound silly. Maybe your words came out slowly or with mistakes. But you did it anyway. And then what happened? Nothing bad. The world didn't end. People didn't laugh. You survived. That moment, you showing up even when you were nervous, that's what grows confidence. And here's where consistency becomes so important. Every time you do a small thing for your English, even when you're tired or unsure, you're telling your brain, hey, I can do this. And the more you tell your brain that, the more it starts to believe it. Confidence is built like a brick wall, not with one big brick, but with many small ones. Each practice session, each sentence spoken, each new word learned, that's a brick. Let me give you a simple picture. Imagine a person standing in front of a mirror. At first, they can only say, I'm tired, but they say it every day. Next week, they add, I'm tired, but I'm learning. Then I'm tired, but I'm learning and growing. And slowly, without even realizing it, they begin to believe what they say. Your voice matters. Your words matter. And when you show up every day just for a few minutes, you're building something stronger than grammar. You're building trust in yourself. You start to think, I don't have to be perfect. I just have to be present. This is what happened to my friend Leo. He never used English in public, not because he didn't know the words, but because he didn't believe in himself. So I gave him a simple challenge. Say one English sentence out loud every morning. Just one. He laughed at first. How can that help? But he tried. 1 week later, he sent me a message. I said good morning to my neighbor in English. That was the start. Today, Leo helps tourists in his city. He leads walking tours in English. What changed? Not his grammar, not his vocabulary, his belief. Confidence grows where effort lives. So the next time you speak English, even to yourself, remember that small moment is doing something big. It's planting a seed. And with water, your daily effort, it will grow. Why consistency reduces stress and overthinking. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by learning? Maybe you've opened a grammar book and closed it 5 minutes later. Maybe you've watched a video in English but felt your brain go blank. Or maybe you've started a new English habit and then stopped after a few days. That's not because you're lazy. It's because your mind is trying to protect you from stress. When something feels too big, too hard, or too unpredictable, your brain sounds the alarm. Danger. Too much effort, and that's when we start overthinking. But here's the good news. Consistency can silence that alarm. When you do something small every day, something simple and predictable, your brain starts to relax. It doesn't have to fight. It doesn't have to decide. It just knows what's coming. That's one of the secret powers of consistency. It creates calm. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I had a student named Alina. She told me, I'm so stressed when I study English. I never know where to begin. I feel like I'm doing it wrong. I asked her, what if you only do one thing at the same time every day, just 5 minutes? No thinking, no planning, just repeat. She picked something simple, listening to the same short podcast every morning while brushing her hair. That was her ritual. No decisions, no pressure. 1 week later, she said, I feel calmer. I don't stress about learning anymore. It's just part of my day. That's what happens when we stop chasing perfect study sessions and start building peaceful habits. When English becomes part of your daily rhythm, it stops being a task. It becomes a friend, a companion, something that walks beside you instead of something you have to carry. Consistency also helps with decision fatigue. Every time we try to choose what to study, when to study, how long to study, our brain gets tired. But when you have a set time and a set activity, there's no decision to make. You just show up. And when you show up without stress, you learn better. Your brain is open, not overwhelmed. Your heart is lighter. You begin to enjoy the process. Try this, create one English ritual that feels easy. Maybe it's listening while doing the dishes, or writing one sentence after breakfast, or reading one page before bed. And then do it every day, same time, same way. In a few days, you'll notice something beautiful. It feels normal. In a few weeks, you'll notice something even better. It feels peaceful, like something that belongs in your life. You don't need to push yourself all the time. You just need to create space and let the learning come to you. Making English practice a joy, not a job. Have you ever said this to yourself? I have to study English today. It sounds small, but those words can change how you feel inside. I have to feels heavy, like carrying a big box up a long hill. It feels like pressure. But what if we change that to, I get to practice English today? Now it feels lighter, a little more exciting, like an opportunity, not an obligation. That simple shift from duty to choice can change everything. When you treat English like a job, it starts to feel cold. You check the time. You wait for it to be over. You focus on doing it right instead of enjoying the moment. But when you treat English like a joy, even a small joy, it begins to feel warm, gentle, even fun. Here's the truth. You don't need to suffer to improve. Of course, growth requires effort. But effort doesn't always need to feel hard. It can also feel satisfying, creative, and even playful. Let me tell you about Lucas. He used to set a timer, 30 minutes of vocabulary, no distractions. But he never looked forward to it. It felt like school again, boring, stressful, mechanical. One day I asked him, "What do you love doing in your free time?" He smiled and said, "Cooking." "I watch cooking videos all the time." I said, "Great. Start watching cooking videos in English." He did. And suddenly something shifted. He was learning new words, but also smiling, laughing, writing down recipes, talking to friends about what he made. English stopped being a task. It became a part of his life. That's the magic I want for you. If you love music, listen to songs in English. If you enjoy drawing, write one English sentence about your sketch. If you love walking, talk to yourself in English as you walk. Learning a language should fit who you are, not the other way around. The more personal it feels, the more joyful it becomes. You can also play with language. Make silly sentences. Say tongue twisters. Write funny short stories. Pretend you're giving a speech to your dog. You're not doing this to be perfect. You're doing this to make your brain feel curious, not afraid. Joy is one of the strongest tools for memory. When you enjoy something, your brain wants to remember it. It wants to come back. So try this. Make one part of your English practice fun. Not just useful fun. Give yourself permission to smile while learning, to feel proud, to enjoy the small wins. Because here's the secret. If learning feels like joy, you'll keep coming back. And if you keep coming back, you'll grow faster than you ever imagined. Celebrating small wins and tracking your progress. Now that we've talked about joy, let's talk about something else that's just as important. Celebration. Yes, celebration. Not the kind with balloons or music, though those are fun too. I'm talking about the quiet, powerful moment when you recognize your own progress and say, "I did that. That was me." Too often, we wait for big results before we allow ourselves to feel proud. We say things like, I'll be happy when I speak fluently, or I'll celebrate when I pass the test. But what about today? What about the fact that you listen to this podcast in English from start to finish? That matters. What about that one new word you learned yesterday? That sentence you understood without using Google Translate? That counts. You are doing more than you think. But sometimes your brain forgets. That's why tracking your progress is so powerful. It reminds you how far you've come. Let me tell you about something that helped me. Years ago, I started keeping a simple language calendar. Nothing fancy, just a notebook with 30 boxes. Every day I practiced English, even just a few minutes I made a little in the box. That's it. After 1 week, I had a row of, and something happened. I didn't want to break the chain. It became a game, a quiet personal game. Could I go 10 days in a row, 20 a month? And every felt like a celebration, a small trophy, a reminder, I'm still here. I'm still showing up. You can do this too. Here are a few easy ways to track and celebrate your English journey. Use a calendar mark each day you practice, even just 5 minutes. Keep a journal. Write one sentence a day about what you learned or how you felt. Take voice notes. Record yourself speaking once a week. Listen back in a month, you'll be amazed. Create a win jar. Each time you learn something new, write it on a small paper and put it in a jar. Watch it fill up. And here's something even more important. Celebrate your effort, not just your results. Did you speak English even though you were nervous? Celebrate that. Did you study even when you were tired? That deserves a well done. Effort builds character. Effort creates change. And every small win deserves a little light, a little love, a little, yes, I'm proud of myself. When you celebrate your steps, big or small, you make the journey lighter. You give yourself fuel to keep going. And most of all, you start to believe in yourself a little more each day. Finding support and learning with others. Learning a language doesn't have to be a lonely road. In fact, some of the most powerful motivation comes not from apps or textbooks, but from other people. People who walk beside you, who understand your struggle, and who remind you, you're not alone. We all need that. Let me tell you something important. Learning becomes easier when we feel connected. Maybe you've been studying alone for a while. Maybe you've been listening to podcasts like this one, watching videos or writing in a journal, and that's amazing. You've built discipline and independence. But now imagine this, you share your progress with someone. You send a message to a friend saying, I learned 10 new English words this week. And they reply, wow, that's great. Suddenly your effort feels seen. It feels real. That kind of energy, the energy of support, is a powerful fuel. You don't need a big group. You just need one person who understands your journey. That could be a friend who's also learning English, a tutor or language exchange partner, a family member who listens to you speak, or even an online community where people share their practice. When you speak English with someone, even if it's only once a week, you activate a different part of your brain. You become more alert, more expressive. You stop memorizing words and start using them to connect. And connection is what language is truly about. Let me tell you a short story. There was a woman named Liane who practiced English by herself for months. She listened to podcasts, read books, and wrote in a diary, but still felt stuck. She said, I understand the words, but I don't feel confident using them. So I asked her, what if you joined a weekly English circle, just 1 hour a week online? She was nervous. What if I make mistakes? She asked. I smiled and said, that's the whole point. We all make mistakes, but we grow faster together. She joined. The first time she spoke only one sentence. The second time too. By the 5th session, she told a short story in English about her childhood. Her hands shook. Her heart raced. But she did it. And the group clapped. That moment gave her wings. Today, Liane volunteers as an English helper for new learners. She says, I used to study alone. Now I learn with joy. That's the power of support. So ask yourself, is there someone I can speak English with? even just for 5 minutes? Could I join a language group online? Could I leave a comment in English on a YouTube video I liked? Could I record a message for myself and say, hey, I'm proud of you? Even the smallest interaction can create connection, and connection creates momentum. Because when we speak to others, we're not just practicing language, we're practicing courage, expression, and trust. And when someone says, I hear you, it becomes a little easier to keep going. Dealing with setbacks without losing hope. Let's be honest, on the journey to learning anything, including English, setbacks will come. There will be days when you miss your routine, weeks when you feel stuck, moments when you hear someone else speak fluently and think, why am I not there yet? It's easy to feel behind. It's easy to feel like you're failing. But I want to tell you something clearly from the heart. You are not failing. You are learning. Setbacks are not the opposite of progress. They're part of it. Imagine you're walking up a long hill. Some parts are smooth. Some are steep. Some have rocks that make you trip. But if you keep going even slowly, you're still climbing. The same is true with your English. Sometimes you'll miss a day or even a week. You'll forget words you thought you already learned. You'll feel embarrassed when you speak, and your brain might whisper, I'm not good enough. That voice can feel powerful. But here's what's more powerful, the choice to begin again. One more time, one more try, one more small step. That's how we win. Let me tell you about Arjun, a listener from India. He practiced English every morning before work. He had a perfect routine. But then life got busy, he moved cities, changed jobs, and stopped practicing for 2 months. When he finally sat down to study again, he felt ashamed. I lost all my progress, he said. I feel like a beginner again. But I asked him one question. Did you learn something during those 2 months? He said yes, he learned patience, adaptability, and how to take care of himself in a hard season. Then you didn't go backward, I said. You grew in a different way. That day, he started again, just 5 minutes. And this time, he was even stronger because he knew how to get back up. So here's what I want you to remember when setbacks happen. Don't punish yourself. Be kind. You're not a robot. You're human. Start small again. Don't wait for a perfect mood or perfect timing. Just do one thing today. Look back, not just forward. Remind yourself of what you've already done. You've come further than you think. Talk to someone. Share your struggle. Let someone remind you that it's okay to pause as long as you come back. There's a quote I love. A setback is just a setup for a comeback. You don't need to rush. You just need to return. And every time you return, you grow stronger. Your journey is not broken. It's alive. It moves, it shifts, it teaches. And most importantly, it continues, turning consistency into an identity. Now let's go even deeper. So far, we've talked about habits, about small steps, about showing up. But here's something truly powerful, something that changes everything. Consistency is not just something you do. Over time, it becomes who you are. Let me explain. At first, when you practice English every day, it feels like a task, something separate from you, like I need to practice or I should learn today. But one day, quietly, it shifts. You no longer say, I'm someone trying to learn English. You begin to say, I'm a learner. Then I'm an English speaker. Then I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. That identity, that quiet belief in who you are, is where true change lives. Let me tell you about a listener named Maria. She told me she had always struggled to believe in herself, not just in English, but in life. She said, I always give up. That's who I am. So I asked her, what if that's not who you are? What if that's just who you've been? We made a plan. 5 minutes of English a day. No pressure, no expectations. She did it. Every single day. Some days she was tired. Some days she was sad. But she never broke the chain. After 30 days, she said something that gave me chills. She said, I'm not just learning English anymore. I'm learning how to trust myself. That's the gift of consistency. It's not about being the best student. It's not about speaking with a perfect accent. It's not even about learning faster than others. It's about becoming someone who doesn't quit on themselves. When you show up every day, even just for a few minutes, you begin to rewrite the story you tell yourself. You stop saying, I'm bad at this. You start saying, I keep going. You stop saying, I'll never get it. You start saying, I'm getting better every day. And slowly, you begin to live as that person, the one who keeps growing, the one who keeps showing up, the one who believes in the power of small steps, that identity, that belief. No one can take it from you. It becomes a part of you, a quiet strength inside your chest, and it goes with you everywhere, not just in English, but in everything you do. Because once you prove to yourself that you can be consistent here, you start to believe you can be consistent anywhere, in your health, in your goals, in your dreams. That's why I always say learning English is not just about grammar, it's about growth. Every word you speak, every sentence you write, it's building something deeper. It's building you. Designing your ideal daily routine. Now that you understand the power of consistency, let's make it real. Let's build your own daily English routine, a simple plan that fits your life, not someone else's. A plan that feels easy to follow even on your busy or tired days. Because here's the truth, the best routine is not the hardest one. It's the one you can keep doing day after day. So how do we design it? First, ask yourself this question. When is the calmest moment of my day? Maybe it's right after you wake up. Maybe it's during your lunch break. Maybe it's just before bed. That moment of quiet that's your golden time. Let's imagine you have just 15 minutes a day. What can you do with that? Here's a flexible example routine. 3 minutes. Listen to a short podcast or English audio like this one. Just listen. Don't worry about understanding every word. 4 minutes. Write 1-2 sentences about what you heard. I heard the word progress. It means improvement. Simple is perfect. 4 minutes. Speak out loud. Repeat one sentence from the podcast. Or talk to yourself about your day. I'm feeling tired, but I'm proud of my effort. 4 minutes. Review 3-5 words you want to remember. Use flashcards, sticky notes, or a vocabulary app. That's it. 15 minutes. No stress, no overthinking, and most importantly, no skipping. If you only have 10 minutes, no problem. If you have 5 minutes, great. Even 2 minutes can be powerful if you show up every day. Here's what matters. Keep it simple. Keep it repeatable. Keep it yours. Let me tell you about Matteo, a father of 3 who works full-time. He used to believe he had no time to learn English. Then one day he realized he always made coffee at 6:30 a.m. while the house was still quiet. So he used those 5 minutes to listen to English. 5 minutes. He didn't start big, but he stayed consistent. And now, 1 year later, Matteo listens every morning, speaks to himself while driving, and joins a short online English group every Sunday. His life is busy, but his routine is steady, because small habits repeated daily become unbreakable. So here's your challenge for today. Design your routine. Keep it small, make it daily, and start today. Write it down. Put it on a sticky note. Set a reminder. Make it visible. Then tomorrow, do it again. Don't wait for motivation. Build momentum, one repeatable moment at a time. Real stories of learners who stayed consistent. Sometimes the best inspiration comes not from a quote or a book, but from someone just like you. Someone who started with small steps. Someone who felt lost or slow or unsure but kept going. Someone who chose consistency over perfection. Let me share 3 real stories from learners who prove just how powerful small daily effort can be. 1. Amina from Morocco. From shy to strong in 100 days. Amina always loved the English language, but she was terrified of speaking. She would freeze when someone asked, "How are you in English?" She thought, "My accent is terrible. I'm too old to learn." But one day she set a small goal. Speak one sentence in English every morning. Just one. Out loud. In front of her mirror. On day 1, her voice shook. On day 10, she added a second sentence. On day 30, she recorded herself and didn't delete it. On day 100, she gave a full introduction in English to a new friend. She told me the words didn't make me confident. The repetition did. 2. Kenji from Japan. The English notebook that changed everything. Kenji was an engineer who read English well but couldn't speak fluently. Every time he tried, his mind went blank. He said, "I understand the rules, but I freeze." Instead of starting with big speaking goals, he did something simple. Every night before bed, he wrote one sentence in English about his day. Just one. After 3 weeks, his sentences became longer. After 2 months, he began reading his sentences out loud. After 5 months, he started using those same phrases at work with real people. He said, "My voice is no longer silent. I trained it with my pen." 3. Clara from Brazil. My walking podcast routine. Clara didn't have time to sit and study. Between working 2 jobs and raising her daughter, she barely had 15 minutes a day. But she walked to the bus every morning. So she turned that walk into her English classroom. She chose a podcast that was just 10 minutes long. She listened while walking. She didn't try to memorize. She just listened. After 30 days, she noticed something incredible. She was understanding more. Words sounded familiar. Sentences made sense. Now she uses her bus ride to repeat words out loud like a whisper. She says it's like learning while living. Every one of these learners had 2 things in common. They started small. They stayed consistent. They weren't perfect. They missed days. They got discouraged. But they came back. And that's what matters. So if you're wondering, can I really get better with just a few minutes a day? The answer is yes. Because the truth is, this small daily effort beats big effort once in a while. Every time. Your progress is closer than you think. Let me ask you something. Have you ever looked in the mirror and felt like nothing's changing? Have you ever studied English for weeks, only to wonder, why am I still not fluent? Have you ever felt like you're walking and walking, but the finish line never gets closer? If so, I want you to pause, take a breath, and remember this. Growth is happening even when you can't see it. Think of a seed planted in the ground. For days, even weeks, you see nothing. No leaves, no flower, just soil. But under the surface, roots are forming. Life is moving. Foundations are being built. Then one day you wake up and there it is, a green sprout, visible progress. But that didn't happen overnight. It happened silently, slowly, faithfully. Your English journey is exactly like that. You might not see big results today, but every time you listen to this podcast, every time you write one English sentence, every time you speak even quietly to yourself, you're watering your roots. And one day you'll wake up and realize you understand a full sentence without translation. You speak to a stranger with no fear. You write a message in English without checking the dictionary. And it will feel like a miracle, but it won't be a miracle. It will be the result of every small step you took. Here's a mindset shift that changed everything for me. Instead of asking, "Why is it taking so long?" I started asking, "What progress is already growing beneath the surface?" Because it's always there. Maybe you're better at understanding spoken English now. Maybe you don't panic when you hear fast sentences anymore. Maybe your fear is smaller. Your vocabulary is bigger. Your routine is stronger. These are wins, quiet wins, invisible at first, but very real. And here's another: truth comparison is the enemy of growth. If you're comparing yourself to someone who learns faster, speaks more fluently, or sounds more confident, stop. Their journey is not yours. Their roots grew in different soil. Your path is yours, and you are right where you need to be. So today, instead of looking for proof on the outside, feel the change on the inside. Feel the way you keep showing up. Feel the way you keep listening. Feel the way your heart says, I'm not giving up. That is progress. That is transformation. Even if you can't see it yet, you're getting closer than you think. Keep showing up, your future self will thank you. So here we are. You've come with me through 14 parts of this journey, step by step, word by word. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to feel something different inside. Not just more vocabulary, not just stronger listening, but something deeper. A quiet belief that you can do this because you can. You are already doing it. You're doing it every time you press play, every time you speak when you're nervous, every time you say just 5 minutes and you follow through. That's the power of showing up. And here's something I want you to remember for the rest of your life. You don't need to be amazing to begin, but you do need to begin to become amazing. You don't need to be confident to speak. You don't need to understand everything to listen. You don't need perfect grammar to write. What you need is this: a small daily promise to yourself, a plan that feels light, not heavy, the courage to return even after falling. That's it. Because when you show up every day, something beautiful happens. You become the kind of person who keeps going. And that kind of person, they grow, they improve, they change, they become fluent, not just in English, but in life. So let me ask you something. Where will you be 6 months from now if you keep going? What would your future self say to you? Maybe they'd say, thank you for not giving up. Thank you for showing up on the hard days. Thank you for believing that small steps were enough. Because they are. Everything great starts small. Everything strong grows slowly. Everything real takes time. But it's always worth it. So as we close this episode, I want to say this from my heart. Thank you for listening. Thank you for showing up. Thank you for choosing progress over perfection. You don't need to be fast. You just need to be faithful. And as long as you keep walking, you are already winning. So go ahead. Take that small step today, then take it again tomorrow. Your future self is already smiling, waiting for you to arrive. Thank you for listening to this special episode of English in Mind. If you ever feel stuck, come back to this episode. Let it remind you of your strength, your growth, your power to keep going. Keep learning, keep believing, and most of all, keep showing up. You've got this. Until next time, take care and speak with heart.